Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Hello, Doctor.
Anyway, you want to go ahead and get into Ed, Edd, and Eddy?
Oh, yeah.
Since we're speaking of trios, hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part 2. Joining me today is the one and only Deadpoolzilla.
I am Ed.
Oh my, yes, today we're talking about Ed, Edd, and Eddy as part of our character discussions. So I guess I'll just go with my bland every time I ask this question. Why'd you want to talk about Ed, Edd, and Eddy?
I guess, the reason I wanted to talk about Ed, Edd, and Eddy was totally not because I had marathoned, 10 episodes the night I had chosen to talk about Ed, Edd, and Eddy. It's just been, the show itself was a big part of my childhood, and I still, go back and watch episodes, and they're still funny. They still hold up. And I think that's to do with the three characters themselves, and I know this is one of the first times we've done three characters in one, but I feel like you can't do a single character discussion without talking about the other two along with it.
No, I mean, it's definitely a dynamic that makes all three of them work so well.
Yeah. Ed, Edd, and Eddy is essentially was the modern day Three Stooges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was it you that said that, or I feel like someone left that comment on a YouTube video I did during Comedy Month. Maybe it was you or someone else. I don't remember.
I can't remember.
But yeah, I definitely agree with that. Ed, Edd, and Eddy takes a lot of what works about Three Stooges, but gives it a more of a seedy underbelly kind of thing. Because the Stooges would run scams on occasion, but more often than not, they were honest guys who were just completely incompetent. Whereas Ed, Edd, and Eddy are straight screwing people, and it's kind of hilarious. I really do like it. It was funny, Rasco and I, a couple months back now, we did an Ed, Edd, and Eddy fan film, and I love the premise that the writers went with, which was that Eddy finally came up with the one scam that would actually work, and he sold pet rocks to everybody. And it's so in line with Ed, Edd, and Eddy. It was perfect. Yeah, I grew up with Ed, Edd, and Eddy too. I remember watching a lot. I'm amazed at how many jokes I just straight did not comprehend because I was a kid. And then I'll go back and I'll watch an episode and I'll be like, damn!
There's a few jokes what was it, when Ed was having a dream sequence and they're getting attacked by the cankers and Eddie screams, "I'm a minor, stop!"
Oh my god. Yeah, there's that. There's a lot of stuff like that. And in a lot of those Cartoon Network shows from that era, Cow and Chicken, right from the same era of Cartoon Network programs, Cow and Chicken had an episode where the Buffalo Gals were a roving gang of bikers who would just break into people's houses and start chewing their carpet. And that was very light coding there. So there's a lot of really adult-oriented jokes of varying levels of taste in those Cartoon Network shows from the 90s and early 2000s. So was Ed, Edd, and Eddy your favorite show from that rung?
Oh yeah. It was Ed, Edd, and Eddy, then Powerpuff Girls, then Johnny Bravo.
Okay, see, me it was Dexter's Lab, Johnny Bravo, and yeah, I'd probably put Ed, Edd, and Eddy in the top three. It maybe Courage of the Cowardly Dog. I have a little bit of trouble deciding between those two. But Ed, Edd, and Eddy was up there. That was one of the shows I always really liked watching. Now, the thing that surprised me is, like, I want to say it was when I was in high school when I'd stopped watching cartoons for a while, that I was just over at a friend's house and they had Cartoon Network on, and it was Ed, Edd and Eddy, but they were in school, and it was so weird to me. Like, so did they go through a revival series or something? Get, additional seasons?
They didn't have... It wasn't a reboot. I can assure you it wasn't a reboot. It was just another season.
And they just decided to put it in school.
Yeah, because, like, Antonucci, the creator of the show, was like, I don't know, summer doesn't last forever, fucking put him into school.
I mean, that was the thing for me when I was a kid that I always thought about, is like, oh, Eddie's schemes never work because people have too long to figure them out. But if he just were to do it in school where, like, people couldn't fight him and he could get away with things more because there'd be, like, you know, these regimented times and stuff. I just thought that would make so much sense for him, and it was just kind of a natural extension to want to see the boys in school.
Yeah, but I think, like, the thing with those later seasons that they didn't really run a lot of scams. It was more like, we got in a situation at school, what the fuck do we do now? Like, it still kept fresh. Like, it was, it still kept true to, like, Ed, Edd and Eddy, and the show itself had, like, some great jokes in there, because now they're in school. It's a whole new environment. There's just, like, there was just so much, like, there was an episode that was an homage to The Great Escape. Yeah, that was a thing. But they also did an episode where they tried to explain sex to Jimmy and Sarah.
Wow. That's surprising.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, then. That's interesting. I don't know, there's a lot about Ed and Eddy that was just really relatable. Like, a lot of shows, when they make shows about kids, they do stuff that's just... It's more of like what an adult thinks of a kid than someone that actually remembers their childhood or is actually able to capture the current generation's childhood, the generation of kids that are watching the show. And I feel like Ed, Edd and Eddy always really got that. You know, the lazy summer days where you're just trying to find something to do all day because you can only watch so much television. The crazy schemes that kids come up with that have no chance of working. Like, how many kids actually could have enough patience to sit at a lemonade stand all day to make 25 cents? Just stuff like that was always really interesting, and it's, I guess it's more interesting in retrospect, but it's interesting because of how relatable it was.
It definitely was. I think, like, let me ask you this: out of the three Eds, which one was your favorite?
Eddy. I mean, he's a wisecracking. He's like the natural leader of these goons.
He's your spirit animal, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, you know, ignore the fact that I've got long hair, but yet I'm going bald.
Just three hairs like him.
No, not the three hairs, not yet. One day. No, that's like definitely a thing. Ed and Eddy, like, all had their fun moments, and I think everyone wants to say Ed with one D, but we all know none of us are that awesome. Like, that's really good. How about you? Which one's your favorite, Ed?
It's definitely of the three, it would be Ed, but mostly because every joke with him, even though he's such an idiot, he gets some of the best jokes. Like, what was one episode where, like, they found turkey basters and using water guns, and, like, the thing about Ed's jokes is that they're not even jokes; they're just statements.
Buttered toast.
Where they're just like where they're playing with and Eddy claims that these turkey basters are Canadian squirt guns, and Ed just goes, "Canadians are weird."
It's definitely at the voice performance, isn't it? It's all like Ed is a character who would be super boring and uninteresting if not for the perfect portrayal in the voice, you know?
Yeah.
I almost feel like the writers didn't do anything with Ed, and it's just all on the voice actor. Knowing, like would it surprise you if you found out, like, the voice actor for Ed just sat there and listened to, like, already recorded dialogue, and there were just spots for him to just ad-lib, and he just wrote his own lines as Ed? Would that honestly surprise you if you found that out?
Actually, that's kind of what happened. The voice actor Matt Hill did a lot of that.
See, and you can just tell. You can just feel it because it feels so naturally funny. It just feels like riffing kind of humor as opposed to, like, scripted humor. And obviously both of those things have their advantages and their disadvantages, but, like, they have such a distinct feel to them, and it's always really cool when you can see those kind of play off of each other in that way.
Definitely. And it also helped that, like with the Batman 90s cartoon, everyone, at least the three actors who played Ed, and Eddy, were all in the same recording booth, so they all played off each other.
Yeah, that is another, like, technique thing that can really add to a dynamic and just make things work out a lot better.
Yeah. I guess, like, going back to the Three Stooges thing, because this is a cartoon, and much like the Three Stooges, this has a lot of pain in it, but it gets ramped up to 11.
Yeah, there's some pretty ridiculous shit in the Ed and Eddy cartoons from what I remember. Like, pretty sure someone, like, sticks a nail through Eddie's tongue in one episode or some shit like that. I just have a vague memory of some like crazy violent shit like that happening.
Yeah.
Rolf beat the shit out of him one time because he got super pissed.
Oh yeah, because like he beat him with a flounder. No, a mackerel.
Yeah. Shit like that just comes to mind for me.
The hat of discipline. Do you live in a cave?
Poor Ralph. That was another thing the show did so well. Sorry to talk more about the show than the characters, but, like, not only the dynamics of the three Eds, but, like, it exaggerated the neighborhood kids. Because when you're a kid, you can only go so far out of town, or out of your neighborhood. So you have school friends that are your friends during the school year, but then you have the kids you're stuck with in the neighborhood, and they're just who you have to hang out with because there's no one else. You're not allowed to leave the neighborhood, or you're not allowed to go too far out of the neighborhood. And so to have these just exaggerated versions of the different neighborhood kids, like the kid who's just constantly doing school or work around the house because his parents just don't want him out of the house while they're at work, and the kids that are just always out on the cul-de-sac shooting basketball or something. Those dynamics work really strong, and it's really fun to see the Eds play off of those and have their own dynamics as well. Eddie's the kid who won't shut up about how cool his brother that went off to college is. Double D rather is doing chores around the house like crazy too. Just shit like that's really, really fascinating in retrospect.
Yeah. Oh, like, and poor Ed is the kid who's like, he's a total idiot but is totally lovable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that episode where he got grounded and they tried to bust him out?
No, I don't. Like, I feel bad for not watching more Ed, and Eddy and just going off memory from this, but I'm really surprised with myself with how much of this show I remember and how much of an impact it left on me. Yeah. So I don't have a ton of, like, really specific episode memories. Like, I remember the episode where they actually get jawbreakers and then they're, like, walking down the street with them and they pop out of their mouths, and so they, like, the episode ends with them chasing these gigantic jawbreakers down the street.
Oh yeah, that was the pilot.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah. Before Ed, and Eddy got its own show, it was on this thing called Cartoon, which was kind of like kids could vote in whichever show had the most interest in it. That's what got a show. That's how they got Kids Next Door and Ed, and Eddy, as well as Grim and Evil.
Okay. I remember Grim and Evil being voted that way. I didn't know that happened with Ed, and Eddy. Yeah, I remember like that. I remember there's an episode where And this has got to be just the most elaborate of Eddy's ridiculous fucking schemes. Where they, like, had a riverboat with, like, gambling, and Double D was, like, providing musical entertainment to everybody.
It wasn't a riverboat. It was like a raft.
Yeah.
And he was just making a fake cruise line, and the Cankers came along to raid the ship.
And, like, here's the thing for me. Like, Eddy's schemes were so damn elaborate to the point where, like, yeah, it's not even a scheme anymore. He's just legitimately trying to start a business. Like, it's obviously unsafe and shit. Like, he provided entertainment. He actually had them on a raft going down the river. Like, at what point is that a scheme? You know?
This is like monopolizing right here.
This is like actual proper entrepreneurship.
Yeah. My cruise line is the best. You gotta believe me.
Yeah. Safe. Totally safe. This is grade A duct tape. Grade A. Only the best. Only the best. There you go. Who would win in a brag off? Eddy or Donald Trump?
Oh, it'd be Eddy.
Oh,
Because
man.
Eddy at least has like he can be an idiot, but sometimes he could actually like fake his way like Daffy Duck. That's the other thing. Like him and Daffy Duck have that thing where they can be stupid, but when they can just fake it till they make it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so. Did you have a favorite? Like, since you know the episodes better than I do, did you have a favorite Eddy scheme?
Oh man, the Canadian squirt gun scheme was really good. My favorite, I think, also the cruise ship was also a really good one. That was actually my first episode of watching Ed, and Eddy. That was...
oh, really? That's crazy.
Yeah, funny enough. But yeah, the Eds, and going back to the cartoon going back to the taking the style of the Three Stooges and having all these wacky moments and that hurt themselves and ramping up to 11. They even there's even points where they make fun of the cartoon logic.
Oh yeah. Oh, isn't there an episode where someone steals Rolf's outline?
No. It was an episode where they wander into this weird dimension because they're trying to figure out. They're trying to get knowledge for some reason. For some reason, they just decide, you know what? Let's learn about stuff because Ed just stumbles into Eddy's house asking all these dumb questions, and Eddy just gets the idea of maybe if we learn stuff, we can get chicks. So they study stuff and they actually stumble into an alternate reality.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's funny. I remember, I don't know, that stuff's kind of fun to me. I remember, really enjoying some of the plotting in a lot of episodes. One plot of an Ed, and Eddy episode has stuck with me, and I just want to steal it for a movie. And I've talked to Bobby about this a number of times. But there's a plot where they have to do something for every single one of the kids in the cul-de-sac. Because they're trying to get money for Jawbreakers. And so they're they ask one person for the money and they'll say, okay, yeah, do this thing for me and I'll give you the money. And in order to do that thing, they have to get a thing from Rolf and it just keeps going and going and going. And it's just the most ludicrous, over-the-top, ridiculous effort. And clearly is not worth all the work.
Actually, it wasn't money they were trying to get. It was an egg so they could make eggs for breakfast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and in the end, I almost said in the Ed. In the end, Ed takes the egg and thinks the chicken is in the egg. He's like, "Fly, chicken, fly!" and breaks the egg. And Eddy just loses his shit.
That's pretty special. Yeah, I love shit like that. It's such a great fucking idea for how to tell a story and just get nothing but comedy out of it. There's something perfectly timeless about a story like that, you know? So
yeah.
I really like stuff like that. And as far as the cartoon logic, I'm reasonably sure there's an episode where someone steals, and I think it's specifically Ralph's, I feel like there's an episode where someone steals Rolf's outline.
It's not Rolf's outline, it's Jimmy's outline they steal.
Okay, yeah, I knew I remembered that fucking joke. Wow, there's so much shit creeping back from the, like, recesses of my mind right now.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Eddy talking about, like, his brother had a camel in his room. Shit like that.
Yeah, there's also the story where they're all telling his story to Johnny. They're stuck in his wall. And there's a great moment where it's Ed's half of the story, and of course Ed's adding, like, making the Canker sisters like giant monsters, and they all fuse into one head, and Eddy goes, "Ed, your story's getting weird."
Oh, that's funny.
Like, there's just, like, some funny fourth wall break jokes, like, and they're even, like, quick, like, blink and you'll miss it kind of jokes. Like, they're all trying to watch a monster movie marathon at someone else's house, and Double D goes, "Eddy, why don't we just go to our houses?" And Eddy goes, "What, and ruin the plot?"
Oh, that's good. That's really funny. I also really remember liking, like, Ed's got this obsession with, like, or like classic monster movies and stuff.
And he did make himself into a monster.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like stuff like that, like the really cool character stuff. Because Double D was always, like, just almost a slave to his parents. I remember, like, he woke up and there were notes left for him everywhere of what he was supposed to do in the house. And I remember my mom trying to do shit like that with me and just, oh, I didn't see it. I got really good at that lie. Like, that just always felt really relatable. And I remember, like, Eddy always talking about, like, oh, my brother's room and stuff like that. And that felt really relatable to me as a kid who had a significantly older brother growing up. Shit like that, just, I don't know, it's super relatable in a really interesting way. Like, I remember my friends wanted to go hang out in my brother's room because he had a black light and he had, like, liquor bottles that were full of things that glowed in the black light. And they just all thought that was really cool. Shit like that, just, it gets me. What else? What else can we talk about with that, Ed and Eddy?
Let me ask you this. Would you like to see this show, like, okay, actually, I'll get to this question now. Would you want to see this show brought back as them a little older, or do you think, like, nah, let's just leave as is?
You know, honestly, I would not mind the idea of doing a, I don't know, what's the comparison here, where, like, aging the characters with the audience that originally watched them. Like, it's been however many years when the show went off air, and they were this age at that time. Let's just bring it back, and they've aged the same distance. Well, I could really go for something like that.
Yeah, but, like, I would actually have it like they've aged a little and gotten... Because they were in middle school. I would say, like, they're now in, like, sophomore year of high school.
Yeah? I don't know. I think I could really go for, like, maybe not full... Yeah, maybe not, like, the true time span, but I could go for, like, home from college Ed and Eddy. You know?
Yeah. Or, it actually be great, like, do an Animal House, but with Ed, and Eddy.
Yeah, that could be fun, too. I don't know, stuff like that could just be, I don't know, it could be interesting and poignant. And like I mentioned this Ed, and Eddy fan film, that's what they did, is they're all recently graduated from high school, and so they made an Ed, and Eddy fan film because it was going to be, like, their last chance to do something before they all went off to college. And I don't know, it has an interesting... poignancy to do something like that, and it'd be really cool to see that done with the original animation and characters and voice actors and all that. I could go for something like that. That could be interesting.
Yeah. I think, like, if as long as you get the right person to do it, because honestly, Cartoon Network does have, like, a shit track record with all these reboots, with all their reboots.
Yeah, I've not heard good things about, like, Powerpuff Girls and stuff like that.
Yeah. Like, if you want to talk about the only good reboot was Samurai Jack. Well, it wasn't even a reboot, it was a continuation, so I guess that doesn't count.
Yeah, and, like, I even heard that kind of suffers from, like, third act syndrome and shit.
time. But anyway, I guess like I guess like another thing we could talk about is, do you think the dynamic could have worked if you just used, like, if you did an episode with like just two of the Eds or just only one and playing and just by themselves? You think it could have worked?
I feel like you could do an episode that focuses wholly on just one of them, but I don't think you could do anything without all three of them there. Like, you could do an episode where it's all about Eddy, or it's all about Double D, or it's all about Ed, and the others are just there as background, but I don't think any of them play off each other well, or deal with, or act the same way unless you get them together and create that dynamic. I know that's a really weird specific point, but I don't think that they would work, because without Eddy there to tempt him, Double D doesn't leave his house. Without Ed there to bumble shit, things don't go wrong, and therefore Eddy and Double D become assholes who are stealing from people. Without Double D there, they can't engineer the crazy shit that they're able to do. Like, the dynamic between the three of them is really, really strong, and you need all of that in order to work. And without, Eddy, if Eddy is just left alone with Ed, they can't get anything done. Yeah, they all need each other. They're codependent, or tridependent. Tridependent, is that a word? You know what I mean.
Yeah.
They all depend upon each other to have the very specific characters that they have. So you could maybe do an interesting deconstruction episode where, Double D's family goes on vacation, and so it's Ed and Eddy left, and Eddy's trying to do his stuff, and it just doesn't work, or or take one of them out of the dynamic, and it would change things drastically, and that could be an interesting deconstruction episode.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about Eddy, we talked about a lot about Ed, we haven't talked a lot about Double D.
And I feel like he's the character more people would relate to than they'd want to admit, because Double D is clearly the less cool one, right?
Yeah.
Like, Ed's hilarious, Eddy's kind of got like a rascal edge to him.
Like, you could
Double D is...
you can follow Eddy, like he could sell you snake oil.
Yeah. Double D's, like, I feel the kid who most kids probably were like. And obviously it's dialed up to 11 and stuff, but, like, your mom left you a note on summer vacation, hey, mow the lawn today. You weren't gonna not do that. Like, that's a thing. I feel like Double D is one of the most relatable and most realistic characters.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, he's so OCD. It's it's funny. Like, it gets to the point where it's hysterical, and it's also funny because when you're talking about deconstruction, Double D is the heart of the trio. Like, he's definitely the one who, like, knows when to dial it back.
Yeah, and, like, he's the one that usually comes clean on all the dynamics too. Like, all the schemes basically ended in Ed did something stupid to screw it up, or Double D came clean, and admitted everything to everybody. Like, those two were basically the go-to ways the writers had everything unravel. Either that or the Canker Sisters. Like, occasionally it'd be one of the other kids or the Canker Sisters or something, but it was primarily within the dynamic itself.
Yeah. Now, let's be real here. Double D got the hot one of the three Cankers.
The blue hair, right?
Yeah, Marie.
Yep. Oh, she was everyone's emo girl crush.
Hey, I shipped those two long before I knew what shipping was.
Is it a ship if the show pretty much just establishes that's the relationship? I don't know.
Yeah, like, they did a future episode, and there was a deleted scene where it was confirmed that they married the Cankers in the future.
Oh, of course. That's beautiful. All right. Do we have anything else we want to talk about that, Ed and Eddy?
We need to, like, at some point on Geeky Gentleman just talk about the show in depth. Like, I know we were just talking about the characters, but
Yeah, I mean, I'd be down to do like an episode or maybe like a first season review or something like that. And how many episodes in the first season?
There's only like 13. I think there's only 13 in the first season.
Okay, yeah, I'd be down for something like that. That's doable. Finding it is going to be a bit hard on my end, but I'll manage. All right, yeah, let's go ahead and call it there. So recommendations is pretty much just watch the show.
Yeah.
Is there a best season in your opinion, since you got more knowledge of it than me?
I would say first season is good, but by season 2 and 2 onward, like the first, like seasons 2 through 4 are definitely the gold.
Mm-hmm.
Not to discredit like 5 and 6 in the first season, but it really the show really hit its stride by season 2.
Okay. All right. Well, everyone, thanks very much for watching. Let's see. Do I want to announce who we're doing? No. I'm gonna keep a secret. Anyway, everyone, thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I am the Don Juan of Comic-Con.
And we are your geeky gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.